a lot of stuff that's not really spoken about that I think should be addressed in one form or another, and it's just complicated.
Ladies and gentlemen,
you are now about to witness
the journey that is the Lyfe Choyces podcast.
Yeah!
We talked about this a couple episodes ago about how we're losing the family connection.
Mm-hmm.
And we as humans give ourselves excuses as to why we allow ourselves to do certain things. And a lot of things that we've lost in the generations, I believe, is the family bond, right? It's just not there as strong in most families. And then like a simple thing, it's just like recipes being passed on, which we've lost from our nunas, our bubbies, our grandmothers, grandparents, grandfather. You are a family in the 2025s. You know, you have 3 children, one still at a very young age, and one is adulthood, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Do you notice that, or have you been able to keep that kind of family bond, that family unit together?
That's a complicated question for me because when you talk about like family recipes being passed down, you know, I've got my whole like way of eating now. I can't even use the recipes that I have anymore, which is interesting. But I also, I think that my little family unit has a great bond. We've been through some, you know, major changes and ups and downs together, and we have a pretty tight connection. Um, but as far as like family history, it just gets really complicated for me. There's just a lot of stuff that my family specifically like swept stuff under the rug that I don't think is okay, and there's a lot of stuff that's not really spoken about that I think should be addressed in one form or another, and it's just complicated. I don't know.
Okay. But as your specific family unit, you and your 3 children,
Mhm.
do you feel that you've been able to keep that bond through good family activities from when the 19-year-old was a child through till, you know, the 10-year-old being 10?
Yes and no. Yeah, a little bit.
And what kind of activities would you say are like the kind of like the best ones that you guys have been able to do?
I mean, just going to the beach together, um, badminton, playing some games. Uh, yeah. It's harder now because everyone's doing different things.
Everyone's at different stages of their life.
Yeah, yeah. Like my 19-year-old's at college and my 16-year-old is really doing her 16-year-old things, which, you know, so it's hard for us to come together a lot anymore. But I can think back to like when we used to do a lot of stuff outside together. Um, this is like motivating me to get that badminton set back up.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh,
But the last thing we did together is we went to the beach. And, like we usually play together there.
yeah. Well, that's like Daryl and I were talking about this, you know, on screen and off screen, is the things that you used to do as a child that you thought were more of a chore, you know, being with your parents or what have you. As we navigate through this journey that we're on, we start to realize that maybe those activities were actually a lot more fun than we thought they were.
Mm-hmm.
And as a parent, I don't know yet, I assume, you get to have that reward during a certain period of time when they're of a certain age, where you're able to kind of implement those same sort of activities that you did as a family, maybe when you were a kid, and you get to see, you know, as the parent, what the reward is of creating that family bond amongst your children, in hopes that as they grow up, they come back a little more often when they leave the house, or when they have children, you get to see them doing those things that you had done with them.
Yeah, I think a lot of it probably is just picking up different ways of cooking. It's probably one of the things that have just been passed along. But I don't know. That subject's a little tough for me.
Okay, fair enough.
Family
Well,
dynamics.
it's a great segue into the next topic, which is how do we go about navigating through emotional challenges?
Mm.
Being that every human being goes through life, and life is the most difficult game any one of us will have ever played. There are many things that come up in life. I know you, so you've gone through a bit more than others with challenges in your life. Um, if you want to talk about it, if there's anything from being a child that you said that that you think should be talked about that is swept under the rug, how do you deal with those emotional challenges? Like being that you're not a child anymore and certain things were swept under the rug, how do you navigate through those situations, especially when you are around the family members involved in those matters?
I mean, there's different coping mechanisms that I use. I think just reminding myself that things in the past that have happened don't define who I am and that I'm allowed to um, feel whichever way I want to feel and that I'm responsible for setting my boundaries um, and I implement that pretty well.
How do you create boundaries that allows them to feel comfortable coming to you as a parent with their challenges?
Yeesh, this is a big one. I like to think that I do provide a space for my children to be themselves and to be honest about all of their things that they're going through. I think the way that I'm able to do that is by showing an example of doing that. And so I'll have moments where I just need some space and I'll make sure that I let them know like if you know, there's questions coming at me or there's too much noise coming from a different direction, instead of like reacting and like, I'm the parent, so turn that down because this is my house rules. Like it's not really the way that I do things in my house, but it's like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Let's respect one another's space, or I don't want things done this way. And I'll explain why or how it affects me. If I ever do overreact to something, or I don't explain myself in the moment because I'm maybe in such a hurry that I'm like, just frustrated and let something out, I make sure to revisit that and go back and like, sorry, I reacted that way. This is what I was going through. It wasn't you, it was me. Um,
So
and
you
there's
almost take the initiative to kind of like bring it down to like the same level so they understand where that came from, like why.
I do. And yeah, and I it's really important for me to provide that safe space for my children in my home because they're out there going to school and they're dealing with like, at least 50 different people on a daily basis with different attitudes and different ways of doing thing. And my daughter's got like all of her different teachers that have their rules and different things. And so when they get home, I just want them to be able to feel comfortable and be able to unplug and feel safe. And that's my job as a parent is to provide and to help them feel safe and loved and nurtured.
So do you give them some downtime when they first walk into the house then?
I do. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's one of the things I'm pulling from a lot of the information because I ask a lot of questions of my friends who are parents because I'm very much hoping one day I am one, and I'm gathering as a squirrel all these nuts basically, of information so that I can be as successful, with my own ways of doing it to bring children up in a happy environment.
Mhm.
I know myself, I'm very much still going to be similar to the way my father was because I really do admire the way he brought my brothers and I up. So there will be some old school train of thought there.
Mhm.
But the one thing that I've kind of pulled out from everyone is that idea of when your kids come home, don't bombard them right away with a bunch of stuff. Because just like us as an adult, when we get home from our 8-hour workday or whatever it is you do, because work's a bit different nowadays, what would you really want to rehash everything you just went through at work right away? I mean, they're at work every day for 8 hours. They're in school.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't create that environment at all. I don't think that that's like, you mean when they walk in the door, "How was your day? Tell me about this." Yeah, none of that.
What'd you learn in
What
school
I do is I
today?
watch them, when I can, when I'm not, a lot of the times I'm working, but I know what they do when they get home. And they usually, my daughter will change, she'll go to the bathroom, sometimes she'll wash her face, she'll make some food, and then she'll relax. Sometimes she falls asleep because she's just exhausted. She's 16.
Mhm.
It's life is hard.
The mental aspect of a 16-year-old man or woman going to school, dealing with all that is, even more so nowadays with social media.
It's so much.
I know how exhausted I get sometimes at work from the mental aspect of it, not the physicalness of being at work, but you're absolutely.
Yeah,
So
and
it
then my
passes out.
son, he's a little easier, like, he won't change his clothes unless I'm like, "Okay, can we get out of the school clothes now?" Like, sometimes I have to, like, tear his clothes off of him, and just ask him to change, but he's really into gaming. He's got like he's coding a game with a friend, and he connects with a lot of friends. They'll either be on the phone or they'll be talking through the game, and so he does a lot of that. And then I don't even really have to do much with him as far as like guiding him through what we need to do. I just let him know like, "Hey, this is what we're doing for dinner. We're going to do it at this time." We'll do his homework. He's usually pretty self-motivated on getting that done. Sometimes I'll just ask and make sure. Um and then when we do eat dinner together, we play this game called High Low.
I love it. Please explain for everyone, but I'm aware of this. I love this.
Yeah, so we just and it the whole reason of playing high low is that it sparks up this conversation, right? And so you don't have to necessarily stick to the rules of the game, but what it is in theory, however many people are at the table, they'll talk about their lowest low of the day and their high of the day. And oftentimes, like someone will have more lows and not be able to see very many highs, and some people won't have a low at all. And so we have to like really stretch. Well, I'm like, I guess if I had to have a low today, it would be this. And then oftentimes that'll spark like a whole different conversation, and we'll just end up, talking and bonding throughout dinner. Obviously no phones at the table. That's just I don't even have to say anything about that. That's
That's
just a
awesome.
given.
Yeah.
So
It's a brilliant idea. You are going to get information out of your children that they might not otherwise tell you in a different forum.
it's so much better than how was your day?
Yeah.
Because how was your day is like fine, good.
Yeah.
It's one of those.
Well, it's almost like you're interfering. You're trying to find out what they did
Yeah.
rather than allowing them to tell you.
Mhm.
And the good things are fairly easy, but building that relationship with a child, I have to imagine to find out what's bad happening, because I know as a child, there was a lot of shit that was happening in my day that I was not happy about, but I didn't necessarily feel like I was very introverted when it came to my parents. I did
Mhm.
not really express the anxiety and stress I was dealing with as a teenager.
Same. I didn't feel safe
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
not their fault that they just
Right.
brought us up in the way in which they thought was okay. So that's why I love the idea of high and low, because your child, after a while, especially if they're learning this from the young age, this is just something that happens at dinner, they'll be more inclined to tell you like, well, the teacher was kind of mean to me today. I didn't like the way she talked to me. And you're kind of like, oh, well, what was that about? And you kind of, you get information that you might not be able to get out of your child, which is phenomenal.
It is.
It really does. I have to imagine the bond that creates is forever lasting.
Yep.
So then I have to imagine that the way you've brought your children up, that you don't really have to worry about when stuff goes wrong in their life, them coming to you and sharing with you.
I don't. And I want to say that a lot of what I went through with my alcoholism and with them being taken away and with the rebuilding of our bond and trust, I think that process of them seeing me prove myself to them and show them how important they are to me, and for me being vulnerable with them and telling them about the mistakes that I made and the way that I feel about that, it's definitely something that made us stronger. And so there aren't any mistakes, right? So there's like, would I go back and live that again? I absolutely would never want to go back and live that again. It was hell. But the outcome has been pretty phenomenal as far as our bond goes. And I let them know, like, wherever wherever you're at, whatever you need to talk about, like, I am not here to judge you. I'm not here to scold you or discipline you. I'm here to make sure that you're safe, that you have what you need, and to provide for you as your parent. But you're God's children. You're not mine. So
Yeah, I mean, like, I got your back no matter what. Be honest with me, tell me the truth,
yeah,
and I will always be there to support you. I've said this many times, like, when I have the opportunity, when it's given to me to have children, I want to make sure that they know, as long as you don't break my trust, like, as long as you tell me the truth of what's happening, I will always go to bat for you.
right. You
That's the
can't go
big
to bat
thing.
for someone if you don't know the truth.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. And I hope to God that I don't have to worry about like theft, stealing, cheating, like none of the things that you should not be doing. Like, I will come and get you out of jail. Like, absolutely. But I just hope it doesn't go there. That's the kind of like the worry, I
I mean,
guess, one would have.
it might, it could
Yeah.
happen.
No,
And any
absolutely.
of those things might happen with my children, and I've been there and done that.
Yeah.
And so at least I feel like I'm creating a space for them where they have someone that they can talk to about it because I don't know that I had that, or if I had it, it wasn't clear to me that I had that. You know what I mean?
I never ended up in jail. The cops were moments behind me in one situation. I don't, I, d- I want to say, unfortunately, I don't, I think the reaction would not have been the best from my parents' side.
Mhm.
Yes, there would have been like, we love you, we're worried about you, but the initial implication would have been how I clearly I feared it because I can't even freaking like think of the idea of it happening. So I don't want that to be the environment they're worried about. Like, I want to be the first one they call if they did end up in jail. I want to be that first call, and I will come get you. I will support you, but I
Mhm.
need to know what happened. I may discipline you depending on what the scenario is. If you're completely innocent, I got you. I'll go to bat for you. But if you did steal the car,
You don't think the jail is discipline enough?
I don't know yet. I don't know yet because I'm not in that position. So I
Yeah.
can't really say that.
Yeah.
I understand that point of view for sure, but I need to get to the root of why did you think stealing a car was okay?
Right.
That's kind of
Yeah.
where my old school train of thought would be like, you're not hanging. Well, we got to figure out, is it you? Is it your environment? Is it the people and then I got to figure out how to fix that because I feel like that's somewhere where I may have failed.
Yeah, I think one of the things that is important to remember is that we are powerless.
Mm.
So you won't be able to fix that.
Right, right. And as a human, I feel like I should be able to, but no, 100%. Like,
Yeah, and
it's already done.
that's the
And it's already
part
done.
of just letting go. And, there are things that we can control and there's a lot of things that we can't.
And that's where I say I'm trying to have all these conversations. I do tend to have quite a lot of them with people in that chair about children, parenthood, because it's something I look forward to. But I also realize that with everything else I'm relearning and reprogramming with my own personal life to become a healthier person, that when those situations happening, I will be relearning again.
You will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's something to look forward to.
Yeah, it is. I mean, if you think you know love right now,
No,
you look
that
into the
is,
eyes of
yeah.
a baby that you've created, I mean, that's a whole different level. And then to watch them grow into like human
It's my biggest
adults.
fear. It's my biggest fear
It's amazing.
welcoming it as it comes. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
absolutely, I will totally understand what my mom and dad went through once having a kid. My buddy Keith sat there a couple weeks ago, and he said, like, when you get that child, like skin to skin, as
Mhm.
soon as like the little baby, like that is just complete. Like, you literally have no idea what life was about
There's no
until that.
describing it until
Yeah.
you yeah.
That's how I describe it. People say, until you have it, you have no idea.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, thank you very much for coming by again.
My pleasure.
Love it. You're going to come back again. We're going to film again in April and May. We'll
I
have you
would
back
love
on
that.
again. I'm finding that I need to block like 2 hours per person now to get the information that we're getting because there's just so much of it,
Yeah.
and people really enjoy. Like, I enjoy. I gain so much knowledge from it. So thank you very much for coming again.
You're welcome.
Everyone out there, once again, thank you very much for coming back each and every week. We're going to see you next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Much love,
You are
everybody.
now about to witness
The journey that is the Life Choices podcast.
Yeah!